Hello, hello. Welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika, and here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. So, this is a story time. I thought it was about time I give a little bit more story time. I think I kind of put that in most of my videos, but this is intentional. Okay, so I want to basically give you a story time about how, as a lot of us as women, how we give our power away, witchcraft speaking, power, meaning our power to manifest, our power to create and bring life out of darkness, out of nothingness, our power to nurture and to bring uh, beings, whether it be plants, babies, whole ass humans, men, adults, women for that matter, into greatness, how we can foster um, just energy and wield it and manipulate it and then set it free, um, all with the expectation that, this energy that we are investing and putting in and nurturing and creating with will be appreciated. So that's what this story time is about because I think a lot of people will relate. And honestly, I this is about me, and this is about a lot of women, and you'll know in a minute. So I'm gonna give a dating experience I had. So I met this guy online. In the days, this was way back when, but I'll tie it to something more recent as well. But I met this man years ago on Match.com. Girl. So I met him, and when I first met him, I thought he was gay. I was like, wow, he's gay or very effeminate. And I mean, listen, this was early days of Match.com, so I'm already dating myself. So just know that this terminology made sense in my mind because I didn't know how else to put this guy. I didn't know where else to put him. So he was very in touch with his feminine side. We'll just say that. So I took that to mean, okay, well, if he's here with me and we met on a dating app and he seems like he's interested in me, then that's just his nature. That's just who he is. And that's cool, you know. But he likes me. He's sexually attracted to me. So, oh well, he'll just be effeminate. And I just roll with it. So I date the guy, and it had been a couple months. So he was a bartender, and what was I doing? Oh, I was waitressing at that time. I was like, what was I doing at that time? I was waitressing, not at the same place we met online, remember? So long story short, we start getting together, and it gets a little bit more serious. I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids. And I'm revealing a lot with this story time, so just stay with me. So at this point, I wanted to just, obviously, I wanted a stepdad for my kids, if I'm being honest. And that I knew that. I didn't want a situationship. I didn't want anything like that. I wanted a relationship and eventual marriage. I knew that much, but I was willing to work on relationship. So I'm dating him, and in most situations when I dated, honestly, I always became the girlfriend. So I became the girlfriend, played that role a lot over the years, the girlfriend. I've been obviously the wife, but I was the girlfriend. And, I was comfortable with that. We're in this relationship, and he's staying over. He's having interaction with my kids at this point, who are young, always supervised. But, it is what it is, if you understand how relationships work, right? Especially as a single mom. So it's progressing. Trust is, I trust him now. And I'm thinking, you know what? He's somebody I could be with. I am putting aside so many things, by the way. The fact that he is so effeminate. No, the story is not going to end up with him being gay. Calm down. At least not that I was aware. But it bothered me. Stay with me. Low key, it did bother me because of what people thought about how he came across. He was like the way his hand jumped, like he definitely was giving what I'm giving right now and how I'm moving. And by the way, he was a good sized man, tall man, nice dark skin, bald, had just a little muscle situation going on. Like he looked manly, you know. But when he started moving and talking, you would just, you know, and he had a bit of a lisp. Like, I'm going in on this because at that time it did bother me, but I was putting that to the side and I was saying, you know, I wouldn't even really deal with it. I was like, that's superficial, let it go. So that's one. Two, um, he drank a lot. I told you he was a bartender. He drank a lot. And he did drugs. Not like Molly, you know? And it wasn't a big deal, but I had two little kids, and the way my mind was set up, I could never really go. I was the responsible parent in charge. The last thing I could do is risk situations by not being in my right mind and not being able to pull myself. It doesn't mean I never allowed myself to enjoy or do certain things, but that was experimental to me, and I wasn't prepared to experiment because I had two little kids. And again, I was the responsible parent. There was another parent nearby. I would not at all say he was the responsible one, and he wouldn't have said that either at that time. I was the responsible one. So, responsible parent doesn't do Molly. So I didn't do it. And I felt like that was an issue with us, by the way. Willing to put that to the side too. I'm full steam ahead. I am investing energy into this person, energy. What does that look like to invest energy? Well, if you've ever been in a relationship with someone, right? And you're already, it's starting to click a little bit of where I might be going with this, you know, making sure they're nurtured, you know, like one of my kids, making sure they're well fed. I'm not even really that type of person, to be honest with you, be cooking up a bit. Oh, good, you know, let me cook this man a meal. I've never really been that girl. I know how to cook. I can throw that when I need to. I can put it together. I can make it taste good. And I work this magic. But it's not like my thing per se. That's why you don't see me calling myself a kitchen witch, because it's not my thing. I dibble dabble, but it's not my thing. And I don't really care if it's ever my thing. It's not something I'm aiming for. It's more about making things I like that nourish me. That's where I'm at. And that's kind of where I've always been, like, just get it done. In that case, it was feed my kids. But, you know, I'm going to nourish everybody in the household, including this man. You know, no, you can stay over here more. Oh, you're in a situation with your house situation because, you know, he's in between spots at this point. So, yeah, you could stay here with me. And you could live here, basically. He never changed his mail or anything like that. It never got that serious. But he was there. He was in my home. And it was like, okay, well, you could be here. You could live here. Yeah. And, you know, we ended up changing jobs, and he got me another job, waitressing, for me to earn some extra money. And, you know, our worlds were really getting intertwined. And I wanted to help him as much as I could by just listening to him and really sending, which I didn't realize at the time, positive energy. Please do not underestimate the ability as women specifically, or more importantly, to tap into the feminine divine, because men have this capability as well, but you have to be willing to tap into this energy. To tap into the feminine divine is creation, the creatrix, you know, and being able to get into that goddess energy and create meaning almost out of nothing, and being supportive in a way that really makes someone bloom. And they had wanted to aspire, they were working on something, by the way. And at that time, they were literally working on something that was the equivalent of what would eventually be what we know as Amazon. And Amazon, I think, is like budding at this point, but like they were onto something. And they used my computer to set things up, and They were taking images of things and they were building a website and they were doing all this. And I was really there being supportive, pouring energy into this person. I'm not a witch yet, by the way. I'm not calling myself a witch. I'm definitely not Christian at this stage in my life where, spiritually speaking, this I know to be true. This is not who I am. I've already gone through the divorcing of Christianity at this point. Um, I'm a free spirit. This is how I'm seeing myself. I'm a free spirit. That's all I got. That's where I'm at this point in my life, spiritually speaking. Put it there. But looking back, I can tell you exactly what was happening. So I'm like, okay, I am now pouring into this individual. Months have gone by. Months. This is not years. This is just months. And this relationship that I'm in. And this person is having access to resources, myself. I'm catering my schedule, my life around them, to be supportive. And I do all this and I find out, spoiler, that they are still on a dating site. I don't know. They told, of course, there was a conversation that we're going to be exclusive, and they stopped. Well, they decided not only did they start dating again, or getting back on the site, they were having a date set up. How do I know? The computer they were building the site on and doing all this stuff. Well, it was my computer, so they forgot to close something, a window, a tab, or something, and I saw that they had been in communication. And they were setting up a date. They had a date set up. So I was like, well, you can get the F out, So how about that? That way you can have a clear schedule, for your date. So get your now and you can go ahead and go. And because I am about that. So, silly, yes, but not that stupid. You know what I mean? Silly girl sometimes, because I would go all in. And there were a lot of things I didn't see, and that I was willing to overlook because I don't know. I guess to put myself out there and be totally honest, at that time, I wanted someone. I wanted a man in the house. I wanted to be a 2-parent household, even if it wasn't the bio dad. I wanted that picture. And that's not a bad thing. I wanted that. And I was bringing it to me. I was creating it. I didn't have any caveats or standards. That was my problem. And I was willing to pour into whoever and nurture and prove to you how much you would get by being with me. I would be available to you whenever you want it. I would never tell you no to pretty much anything. Even if I didn't like it, I probably would go along with it. Because I wanted to be, open and friendly and that girl, that you would want, the kind of girl that you like. I wanted to be that. So I was willing to keep up the farce forever as long as I could without ever really exposing who I really was, without ever really pouring, any of that energy into myself. I was always pouring it into, this person. And I definitely had done that. And I'm skipping over a lot, but because I want you to focus on a couple different things. In the big showdown, when I was telling them to get the F out, we were back and forth. And at one point in the conversation, because it wasn't like he was caught red-handed and he was like, fine, I'll go, fine. And those things that I told you about the effeminate, I'm saying it, effeminate ways that he had and things like that, that bothered me at that time because it didn't really fit into what I wanted. I didn't want him to act like that. But in that moment, it really bothered me a lot because I was like, everything, all the things that I didn't like, and there were several, the drinking, the Molly, the everything else. And he used to walk around trying to explain why he did Molly and things like that, and why it wasn't a problem. And he would, reference, he did research on it. He wasn't a silly, stupid person or anything. He felt like he was very well versed in the subject, and he felt like he could offer conversation about it. Also, he was really into energy drinks as well. And he also would want to argue with you if you look sideways and like, why are you drinking so many Red Bulls? Red Bulls had just really, the energy drink thing was beginning, and he was an early adopter to that. But anyway, he had a lot of vices. That again, it was on him, but the nurturer in me had a problem with those things. Also, it didn't fit into my picture, but I was willing to set that aside because I thought I could, guess what, change him. And I would just have to put up with this temporarily until I changed him, until I converted him to what I really wanted. So at one point he said to me, I don't remember it was a while ago, I don't remember everything, but just know at one point, I remember him saying something, and this stood out to me years later. Wow, you know what? You are really will. He's like, one thing about you I noticed, or however he framed it, you're willing to really like fight and just like really fight and go the distance. Like he was like, because I had basically unleashed everything that had been bothering me, and I'm mentioning kind of trivial things, but there were some other bigger things as well that had bothered me as well, and that left me really upset. And at that point, I felt like I could unleash everything and just let it all out because, you know, F you, get the heck out of my house. So in that moment where I was basically laying it all out there of everything that I can't stand about you, he even noticed that basically what he was saying, to paraphrase, is that, wow, you felt that way, but even in the middle of you feeling that way, you were willing to go the distance with me. You were really going to fight for this relationship. And he actually was like, wow, like, aren't you the little bunny that could? Like, you kept going. You just keep going. Wow. Like, it was in a way, he kind of looked at me in awe in that moment. Like, how are you wired? And that always stood out to me because, one, that was actually very true. And it didn't feel good. And it doesn't feel good even now to think about that about myself. That I've been, and by the way, I didn't learn from that lesson. Unfortunately, that carried on, and I would bring that into other relationships, spoiler. But now, in this big age that I'm at now, in all these life experiences, I could look at that and I understand more about where that's rooted in. So here's how I'm going to bring this all back and tie it in from this wonderful story time of me sharing this very somewhat teachable moment, but also tad humiliating for me, because there were so many red flags and things in front of my face. I jumped in too quickly. I really didn't like him. I really didn't like this guy. But I was willing to just put up because obviously, you can call it I wouldn't say desperate because there were other options. I don't know. I just felt like you know what, out of all the options, I can work with this one best. That would be the best one because I had options. There was still Bio Dad in the background. I could have went with that. So there was not like there weren't men for me to pick from. I picked out of my supposed options that I believe I had. That was the one I thought I could work with. So see some issues here. Okay. Takeaways. My ability to manifest, to pour energy, to manipulate energy, to grow, create, and build and nurture is very much who I am as a witch. That is the part that's a witch. That's why I like mentoring. That's why I love doing readings and working with people. That's why I love leading a coven, because my empathy, all of that is there. There's a part of me, there's nuance to all of us, right? There's a part of me that struggles sometimes with connecting with people, beyond just a initial interaction. Like, I'm a girl's girl, so I can't do superficial. Like, you got to give me something to really kind of sink my teeth into. Emotionally speaking, I'm one of those types of people where it's like, you can't come to me on some, yeah, and we're just being real fake. Like, if that's how you're coming, there's nothing, I'm not going to open up to you because you're not opening up to me. I'm very reciprocal that way. So Anyway, I'm not going to go on a tangent about that, but anyway, I know that emotions, of course I've learned all that now, since that my emotions and all that don't underestimate that my intuition, I've learned about that, talk about that, like listening to the little whispers and things like that. They were always there. All of that, the voices, the signs, the symbols, everything was there, but I just ignored it because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself. So I wasted all that energy into that guy. But it wasn't just that guy, because that's not the central part of the story. It's any guy. And a lot of us as witches waste energy on potential romantic partners because it feels right to pour that into. And we're told, especially by I'm not even going to get into religion, because that is one place that definitely tells us to pour yourself into and kind of just keep giving and giving and giving. But also just society in general. I mean, even if you're not from a religious background, or you'll still have like your old school auntie, old school being technically still rooted in that, where they're still, very, it's very patriarchy tie. And they're going to really be kind of leaning or have you leaning into, do this for this man, show this man that you can cook, show this man this, do this, don't say no, do this, dress this way, look, all for the to be pleasing to this man, whoever this man is. And not enough about how you take all that energy, and pour it into you. And what can you become? What can you manifest? And if only there was a me then to guide me back then. Boy, oh my gosh. Anyway, so I give you this story time because it doesn't matter if you're 20 something, 30 something, or 40 something, or 50 something. A lot of us are still out here, still kind of low key trapped in that vortex of pouring into these romantic partners. And I say that because, you might not be straight. I don't know what you into. So I'll just say romantic partners. A lot of us are doing that, and we're wasting energy. I'll be honest with you. I'm not saying that person, maybe that experience was worth it at the time, but that amount of energy that we're pouring is not meant for one person. It's not meant just for a romantic partner. Imagine if you spread that out. Now, I told you I had 2 little kids, so clearly I'm spreading it out there. But I had more to give. I had a lot more. I could have been really nurturing that for the different aspects that I needed to manifest into my own life, meaning career, school, personal endeavors, my health, getting better at, to be quite frankly, homemaking and things like that at the time. I could have maybe poured into that, and which would have easily tapped me into witchcraft at the time because I was right in that moment. But anyway, I digress. And honestly, just even not accepting spiritual, just, I'm spiritual, and listening to that calling, that gnawing feeling that I wouldn't really vocalize or even really talk about too much to anybody. But my attraction to the occult at the time, it's just a little bit of nudging, a little bit. It was calling a little bit, but if I had just been able to take that energy and spread it out instead of just focusing on this guy, not this guy or that, whoever the guy was, and just going so hard for a relationship that I really didn't even want. I told you there were certain things about his personality I didn't find very attractive. I didn't like that he mirrored me in the way I moved my hands and how I did my head and, how I talk. I didn't like that he mirrored that. That wasn't actually an attractive quality to me. I didn't want that in a guy at the time. That wasn't attractive. I didn't like that he drank so much. I didn't like that he experimented with drugs. I didn't like that he didn't have his own spot. I didn't like those things. I didn't like that he was, using my computer to build something for himself. Why couldn't you invest in your own stuff? I'm a single mom basically making probably the same as him or about as little less sometimes because his wages and his tips. And I had 2 kids. And by the way, I was not getting child support at this point, fun fact, as punishment because I wasn't with bio dad. That's a whole other story. Anyway, so I I managed to get a computer though. I managed to get a computer, but you couldn't manage to get your ish together. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't manage to get your own computer at least. You didn't even have your own spot. He had a car. I mean, he had his own spot. And I didn't even enjoy I didn't really, I'll be honest, and I'm just thinking, even what I was willing to put up for, even in the boudoir, it was adequate. It was good. It was, there were fun times, but it didn't ring my bell. It was okay, but it wasn't like something memorable. Like I can't even really remember anything. So, which is just telling, because if you had a good situation in the boudoir, you'd remember. I can't remember anything. So my point is, I was all in. And the only thing that changed my mind is the fact that I had some standards because him going on a date with somebody was kind of enough for me. And I couldn't ignore that and I couldn't get past that. So, that was a done deal for me. No shade to anybody who, if you were dealing with somebody and they were cheating or something like that and you were like, oh, well, I took him back. He wasn't trying to be taken back, by the way. Here's the thing. I went from thinking I'm in a relationship with somebody to finding something and realizing they're doing something else. And I don't really know what their end game was other than, I guess, to leave at some point. I don't know. And I just wouldn't have known I was being left until I was left. He wasn't like in the process of moving things out or anything. Because remember, he was staying there. He was actually bringing more things in. So I don't know what the end game was, but here we are. So again, the lessons to take and why I'm sharing this is because you're not wired wrong. You're not doing anything wrong when you meet somebody and you pour into them. And, especially once they earn your trust, whatever it takes to earn your trust. For some of us, just being there was earning trust. A lot of us really have a low bar. And there were points in my life I know I did too. So for you out there, I know. It's no judgment here. And I hope you're not judging me. First of all, I'm telling you a story from the past. I've grown since then. But you know what? I'm a woman who might, down the road still make some mistakes, and I'm allowed. All of us are. And nobody's perfect all the time. And by the way, I'm going to tell you this. Fun fact, just side note. You can do readings. You can have signs, symbols, dreams. You could be working with a specific goddess, a god. You could be doing spells. You could be doing all that. And there's still your free will. Don't ever underestimate your will. And if your will is to put aside standards, rules, bare minimum, because you want something, then you will want something and you will do whatever it is to get that something. You know what I'm saying? The thing could be a man in your bed. The thing could be a date for Friday, whatever it is. Listen, there are some of us, we're willing to do things because we want this. So even though because I've seen witches who have had questionable, like, you look at their situation sometimes, and I'm talking about my own personal experience, including myself, where you look like, well, wait a minute. You can advise people, you could do this, this, but how are you making this same mistake? And let's be honest. Sometimes you probably ask yourself, how did I do that? And it's not a time to call yourself dumb or stupid. That's not what this is about. Because how productive is that, right? It's not. It's more about really getting to the root of why. And I've done that work. I've done the necessary work to understand, because I really strongly desired a certain aspect to my life where it was a two-parent household. I desperately did not want to be a single parent. I didn't like the optics. I didn't. Um, a little background, I'm from Camden, New Jersey. If you don't know about that, Google it. It's not a great place. It wasn't a great place at the time either. And there's a lot of stigma that would come from being from there when you wanted to do something outside of there. My name, my me being black, at the time, even how I spoke, everything I was being judged. I was being judged a lot, as a young woman going into the world, where I felt like people just had an assumption about who I was. The stories that could go, quick story about that. Black man. This is why I'm let this tell you the story. I remember I was like 18 years old, and I was working for a temp agency. I'm in college at this point, but I went to a community college first. I didn't go away to college at first. So I was at a community, but I was a full-time college student at a community college. But I went in the evening classes, so I had the day, so I could work. So I went to this temp agency. They got me a job as a receptionist in this office. It was like a freight company. I don't know what it was, something like that. So I'm working there, and I really like the job. And there's like this young girl in there, other younger chick in there. She's like in her 20s, Italian girl. I remember she had this beautiful long hair, and she was very friendly to me. And she just had this thick, beautiful, just like jet black hair. And I just thought she was so cute, and I liked her. And I liked talking to her, and I liked the environment. But this black guy, he was like, I think some executive or something in there, and he was the boss in the office. And I remember it was like a Friday at the end, and I'm about to go, and he's like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And I was like, sure. And he was like, I want to play something for you. And he played a voice recording, for an outgoing message for one of the other offices that we had. And it was, her name was Courtney. And y'all hear my voice. Now, by the way, I'm Jersey, South Jersey. So there's a bit of nasaliness to my voice. I hear it, I know it. And I'm also a black girl. So there's a certain vocal tones that I have. My register is going to be a little deeper. And Courtney was more up here. And vocal fry, before vocal fry. So she sounded like a strangled mouse. So he was like, do you hear how professional she sounds? 18-year-old me. And he's like, and he was in his 40s, by the way, to put this in perspective. And he's telling me he would like for me to sound like that. And he asked me to basically practice saying what she said. So I said it. And he said, no, do it again. So I'm going to tell you, he had me do this multiple times. And he was like, yeah, I just need you to work on your, just sounding more professional, more friendly. Black man. So, okay. So I'm done. And I left feeling very frustrated because I was like, he was clearly unhappy with however I sounded. I knew that. Like, he just, I just wasn't getting and in that moment, I perfected after I left, because by the way, I was no longer able to come back there because I couldn't sound like Courtney. I had, because of that experience, I perfected my customer service voice. Y'all know, code switching. I hadn't really figured it out until the 18-year-old me. I didn't know. So when I talk about expectations and being judged immediately, because he knew where I was from. And by the way, I didn't have a car. I was catching a bus. Like, I really fit a stereotype to, I think, this person at the time. I know I did. This is the 90s, So I was a real around the way, little, girl, the bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair. I didn't have a Fendi bag though. And I did not have a bad attitude, but I was that homegirl, but I didn't really think, I thought I was doing a really good job. And then, it really damaged me. So take that experience, black man. And then add on to my experiences, because at that point I had been dating mostly black men. And this is not about black men per se, but just stay with me. I felt like it was a moment for me to prove myself. You know, I felt like I was always proving myself, and I would reach deep down for undeserving men to prove myself by being the best nurturer. I'm going to give you the best boudoir experience. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I don't think I was the better for those experiences. I never got as much as I gave out of those experiences. Never. And that's a regretful situation, because if I had just understood my power, if I had just understood that you a witch, you are a whole ass witch, and you are wasting what you have in you on these lesser beings, because they were. And I don't wish bad on them. They just weren't up to my caliber. They were not. And not for the level of energy I was giving them. I'm not saying I couldn't have had a good time with them. I'm just saying I should never have been doing what I was doing with energy level wise. So to you who watch this video, please take what you will from this story. What I've shared with you both, for that matter. You got 2 for 1. Take what you will. But know this, I wasted time with that man, that 40-something-year-old man, as an 18-year-old girl, because I know no better yet. I wasted time. And he also left an impact on me, who would then have me altering myself to be somebody else. And that altering, by the way, really took root, where I did learn to change my voice. I changed my name, guys. I'm really just sharing here. I went by a different name going forward. I started using another part of my name, my middle name, because that was more friendly. I started altering a little bits in here. I definitely got, weaves were really becoming big at that point. So I wasn't, come on, it wasn't just about that, but I definitely got into the weaves. And I definitely started, and I never really had a problem growing hair. So that was the weird part, but I wanted it longer and yeah. I didn't really wear braids. I wore braids a little bit, but not really, because that wasn't necessarily, as friendly. But a weave would be friendly. So I definitely got more into the weaves and then wigs. So yeah, to present a certain look as time went on. I wasn't the better for it. I wasn't the better for any of it. And at this age I'm at now, I would tell myself back then, if I could go back, because if I was to talk to you right now, what I would say to you is, what do you really want? And if you tell me, well, I just want him to be this way, and I'll say, okay, but what if he's not? What do you want? What would make you happy? Let's say he won't be that way. Is there an alternate lifestyle or alternate picture you could put in your mind of your life if he didn't act like that? Like, let's talk backup plan. What's your plan B? Let's play pretend for a minute. What does it look like if this guy or no guy acts the way you want them to? What would it take for you to be happy? Just you though. What would that look like? Now, me then, it would have took me some time to come to a realization of even what that picture would look like. I would not have that, because I was like, well, I got these 2 kids. I don't want to do this by myself. I would have been like wrestling with all that other stuff before I could even put that aside to see a picture. It would have been very difficult. And I understand that. So me now would have give you that grace. I would give me that grace to come to terms with, dissecting all this other crap up so you can finally, get to that picture. But I also would know how to give you the breadcrumbs to get there. I really needed me then. than me now then. I really needed me then. But you know, hindsight, right? So take what you will from this. Just know that this is the type of experience that I also bring in my mentoring. Yes, in my mentoring over at leaptaken.com. I keep telling you I lived, honey. And that's just one of many stories. But no, seriously though, regardless of the mentoring, if you could take something from this and you're going through things right now, or you've been through things, or you're still healing from situations like that, just understand that you are, honey, you're not alone. You know it, but you really know it right now. You're not alone, especially when we talk about witchcraft, because I think a lot of us are misplacing our witchiness, our power, our goddess energy, our ability to create and nurture beyond just children now. I'm talking about nurture in a way where we can bring something to greatness, but we tend to pour that into romantic situationships and people who they don't need, they have access to way too much of our power. And a lot of us are really brilliant and really powerful, and we have given that away without not enough in exchange, you know. There's not, you didn't get enough back to give that level away. Not the greatest thing, by the way, to realize that about yourself, and to realize that you were misappropriating your energy. Not a great thing, but here I sit. I've learned from it. I'm a better woman. I'm a better witch because of it. And recognizing that that's part of what makes me a witch, that empathy, that willingness to nurture and help and love one, that is part of my witchcraft. That's what makes me really good at witchcraft. That's what makes my spells work and my rituals turn into something powerful, because I can pour that into, but I know that now. So if you're in a situationship right now where you know you're doing this, you might want to pull your energy back. Do a whole ritual pulling back your energy. I'm not telling you what to do with your significant other, but I'm telling you, bring your energy back in. Do a spell or ritual to bring it back. Do multiple rituals, bring it back. And then use that energy on you and pour into you. Recycle it into you. Dream bigger. What is your plan B? Plan B meaning, what does your life look like if nobody acts the way you want them to act? If they don't show up the way you need them to show up for you? If they don't understand you and they don't commit to you the way you need to be committed to? What is your life? What do you look like? What does life look like? Okay? Start imagining that life with you being content and happy. It doesn't mean, I'm not telling you to set up a life where you're not with anybody, but you need to have inner contentment and happiness. We need to work on that instead of constantly reaching outward. And the fact that there is a whole religion that tells us that that's how we're supposed to be, it doesn't make sense, because if that's the case, there should be somebody for everybody. And the reality of it is, we know there are women who die without ever being married, ever falling in love. There are women who die only knowing heartbreak. Okay? I know women who have never had that experience, and they're not going. They're just gone. So that can't be true. And this sky daddy God figure that people like to attribute everything to, why would he set that up if everybody's supposed to be matchy-matchy? And he still can't explain the whole gay thing. Like, how does that work in? You know, because it's supposed to be man, woman, all that, you know. So, explain the gay, you know, because some people find happiness and contentment within themselves, and then they find other people like that, and they just happen to be the same sex, and they work out too. But that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing. Anyway, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to wrap this up. But I hope this is helpful, this story time. I was actually inspired by a non-witchy YouTuber, believe it or not. And it kind of tied in a couple stories and things that I've been, good girlfriends and other people's and witches and things like that I've have shared things. But this recent thing that triggered this was I watched somebody else's channel, not even remotely witchy, and this girl just really bared her soul And her comment section did not pass the vibe check, by the way, on that. Did not enjoy that. But most of the people got what she was giving. She was being very honest. And she learned from her mistake, but she bared her mistake out there for the public to see. And I was hoping I would do something similar, because it doesn't bother me really to share this sort of information, because I've moved on, I've learned from it, and actually it was an important lesson that a lot of us are out here being real witches, and we're just using that power on the wrong thing. We're misappropriating our power. All right. So thank you so much for watching. Again, I am Mika. This is Leap Taken. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, share. Consider joining, hitting that join button down at the bottom there. I have a video explaining the different options if you're interested. And please check out leaptaken.com, where I offer various services if you're interested as well. Leave a comment if you want to add. I'd love to read it. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.